Hello. What is going on, everybody? Let me fix this real quick. There we go. We are back and better than ever. It is, I guess, Wednesday morning. It's been a couple days. I guess there hasn't been a whole lot going on in the news, right? Haven't missed out on much. Not much going on, right? But yeah, it's been, it's a busy time. We're about 28 days or 25 days out from the election. So lots going on, lots to talk about. And I got a lot of work going on outside of this. So I'm trying to get as much done as I can, but life is busy. So I'm hoping to get out another show maybe this week. We'll see. There's a lot to talk about with Judge Amy Coney Barrett's nomination process and all that's going on there. And I got a lot to say about it. But first, we're going to start with something else. Something that happened last week. So, depending on how you feel about the election, whether you're voting for Donald Trump or whether you're voting for Joe Biden, whoever you support, they will become the oldest president to ever accept the office of the presidency. Donald Trump will be 74. Donald Trump is 74 now. Joe Biden is 77. So they're the oldest. Whoever wins, no matter, unless George Jorgensen does something crazy, no matter which one wins, they will be the oldest president we've ever had. And so it's kind of a shame that in the first presidential debate, the biggest takeaway is that flies exist. That fly that landed on Mike Pence's head, by the end of the night, it had a Twitter account, full-on Twitter account, very tech-savvy fly there, that had 50,000 followers by the end of the night. Yes, here it is right here. And now that Twitter account is up to 123,000 followers. Yeah, if you need any social media help, talk to the fly. And that immediately answers the question of whether or not this debate will actually matter, right? It was definitely more of a substantive debate than the last one. But is this really going to move the needle? Do people really care about this debate? And obviously, probably not. And that fly landed on Mike Pence for a reason, because he was full of shit all night. And I am wondering, flies, when they land on something like that for long, maybe that fly was laying eggs. And if so, will Pence allow them to come to full term? Or does he think they should have rights over their own bodies? But that's a whole nother discussion. But from the beginning of this debate, Pence painted a very, very, very rosy picture of how COVID has hit the United States. He makes it sound like we are doing incredibly well, as if we're not leading the world in deaths and cases. And it was kind of interesting at this debate. There's a literal divider there between Mike Pence and Kamala Harris because, seems like half the Trump administration is affected with COVID-19. And so he's painting this rosy picture to try to make things look good when it's like, come on. I mean, obviously, if this is looking good, we have, 215,000 deaths already. I don't think America's buying that. To Pence's credit, he did ask Kamala some tough questions. Questions about the potential Biden administration's tax plan, which actually was a solid question from them. So Biden has pledged to not raise taxes over anyone making under $400,000 a year. But he's also committed to repealing the Trump tax cut. So theoretically, if he did that, that would actually raise taxes over someone making under $400,000. Also, there's the question of court packing. Same thing, if Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed to the Supreme Court, would the Democrats actually pack the court? Those are actually some good questions, and Kamala didn't really answer them. But the big thing for Pence, and why I think he did lose the night in the grand scheme of things, is because he forgot this was on TV.
Well, let's get
no, but Susan, this is important.
Susan,
I want to add,
yeah,
but
yeah.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
I have to
I'm
weigh
speaking.
in.
You respect the American people when you tell them the truth. You respect the American people when you have the courage
Which we've
to be a
always
leader
done.
speaking. It is asking too much of the people.
Susan, we talked
No,
about
Vice
It
this.
is asking too much of the people to help themselves, to protect
Susan,
their
the
parents
president-
and
No,
their
I'm
children.
sorry.
He will not raise taxes on anybody who makes less than
He
$400,000
said
a
he's going to
year.
repeal the Trump tax cut.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well, wait,
I'm speaking. If you don't mind letting me finish, we can then
Please.
have a conversation, okay?
please.
Okay. I'm speaking. I'm speaking. I'm speaking. This is very important, Susan.
Yes,
And it's
but
important.
we need to give Vice President.
I'd just like to, he interrupted me, and I'd like to just finish. They got away, they got rid of it.
Not true.
I would like to give Senator Harris a chance to respond, but not at such great length, because of course there are other topics we want to talk about.
But I would like equal time.
Yes.
I really have to
Talk about-
respond to that.
I'm-
Look, she has...
15 seconds, because
Well, I got to
we're
have
trying
more
to
than
keep.
that.
In 1864.
Well, I'd like you to answer the
Now,
question.
Mr.
Yes.
Vice President, I'm
Please.
speaking. I'm speaking. Okay. Let's talk about packing.
You once
Come
again
on.
gave a non-answer. Joe Biden gave a non-answer.
Trying to answer you
The
now.
American people-
Let's talk about the
Please.
pack. Yeah, I'm about to.
the
I did
American
not
people
create
deserve
the
to know
rules for tonight.
Joe Biden...
Your
come-
campaigns agreed to the rules for tonight's
I-
debate with the Commission on Presidential Debates. I'm here to enforce them.
Maybe, just a thought. Just a thought. But if your campaign, the success of your campaign is dependent on getting the support of suburban women, maybe, just maybe, don't interrupt the female moderator and the female vice presidential candidate that you're actually debating this whole time. Pence really, he had some good questions, but he kind of got lost when he's kind of mansplaining the whole thing to Kamala Harris, and everyone saw that pretty clearly on stage. And if there was any positive momentum coming out of this debate for the Trump campaign, Trump himself made sure that it went away very quickly by, again, missing the point that Mike Pence also didn't see.
And this monster that was on stage with Mike Pence, who destroyed her last night, by the way, but this monster...
Yeah, it's funny. You watch that Fox News clip, and again, there's a female anchor there, and she's kind of like, did the president of the United States just call this woman a monster? Like, that's not good. That's not a good look for the Trump campaign. And so, yeah, again, they need suburban women to win this election, and with a performance like that, that's not going to work. Now, Kamala, she did a great job presenting her points, sometimes not as strongly as Pence. Pence seemed like he was kind of dominating the stage, but I think that ended up being like a not good look for them. With Kamala, it seems, and with Biden himself, it kind of seems like they're more playing to not lose instead of win, because again, they're ahead by so much in the polls, so they're really trying to not make a mistake. So it seems like in the debates they haven't really been kind of commanding the stage there. But again, this is probably not going to move the needle very much. There's recent polls out there that have Trump down by 12 points, 14 points. I saw one 16 points. And so to really, make a big change here, they needed a knockout blow from this debate, and that didn't happen. And speaking of the next debate, if there's going to be a next debate, there's been a lot of chaos about this. There's been a lot of back and forth, and honestly, it's been really hard to keep up with it. And it's very annoying when you're writing a script for a YouTube show. Because I write a script, okay, there's going to be another debate. Then all of a sudden, there's not going to be another debate. And so I'm here to clear it all up just for you. So after Trump tested positive for COVID-19, Biden said, we're not doing another debate until you can test negative. Now, that's a great strategy for Biden, because why would you want another debate, right? The strategy for the last couple months for his campaign has been to, just let Trump screw things up. And it's been working flawlessly for months. It seems like every time the Trump campaign tries to turn the page on the coronavirus, something else happens, and then he drops in the polls. This latest turn is when he got sick himself. Before that was when the numbers were spiking across the country. And so for Biden, it kind of makes sense. Like, the last debate didn't work out so good for Trump. He fell in the polls. Why would you want to go back out there again with him? So, hey, let that strategy work. Now, the Presidential Debate Commission said, let's go virtual, right? Let's take this thing online and then we can, we could do a virtual debate like we've all been kind of doing things virtually this whole time, this pandemic. But Trump said, I'm not wasting my time on a virtual debate. Yes, he's not wasting his time on it. So if you're paying attention from at home, that is the president saying that, him talking with you, or him debating him debating Joe Biden would be a waste of time if done virtually. Doesn't want to waste your time, doesn't want to waste my time, but that's a pretty bonehead move for him to play there. But he's got his reasons. Probably because Trump knows that if he does go over Zoom, they'll actually mute him. I mean, at the next debate, after the shit show that was the first debate, they're talking about muting his mic to make sure he doesn't just start rambling and going all crazy. But the thing is, anyone who works in video knows, as I've explained before, is that you can mute, see, I could cover this mic up and you can still hear me, right? So theoretically, if he's actually on the stage and they mute his mic, it's really not going to help much. But if he's over Zoom, well, that's a whole nother story. And Trump, in case you haven't been paying attention to a whole lot of his interviews or stuff over the phone or virtually, they don't always go so well.
I want to get our hands around a very difficult situation.
All right, Donald.
Hey, Joe,
Donald. You got to let us ask questions. You can't just talk. No, you got to let us actually ask questions. You're just talking. All Muslims. Donald. You're not going to keep talking. We will go to break if you keep talking. We're going to ask you questions. All right, go to break. Go to break, everybody. Go to break. Go to break right now. We'll be right back with more morning.
It's a big day for trade, big day for our country. A lot of people thought we'd never get here. And I believe the president is on the phone. Enrique?
I mean, I get it, man. Phones are hard. You have to, pick it up, answer the phone. It can be tough there. So, the debate that was supposed to take place this week, today, actually, if today is, or I should say Thursday, that one is definitely canceled. That one's off. Biden, for his part, he's going to be doing a town hall you can check out. Trump is working on a bit of an infection tour, so if you wanted to tune in for that, I suppose you can. But the next debate is set for October 22nd, and that's only on if Trump tests negative. And that's a big if. Because, Trump won't even confirm if he's tested negative now. He says he has, but, there's been a lot of questions about when was he actually sick. If you follow the timeline like I did in my one of my last videos, it seemed like he was actually kind of sick before the debate itself, and the White House has declined to answer when Trump actually tested positive, when did he test negative, because I think they're covering up that I don't think he's really getting tested very much. He's kind of declined to get testing, so they don't really know when he tests negative. But, and if it kind of seems like, okay, maybe this is like a mainstream media thing, maybe he's just, just not telling the mainstream media this. Here's a interview with his good friend Hannity.
Have you been tested recently?
Maybe. Yeah, I just saw the doctors today. They think I'm in great shape. I'm in great shape.
Did you test negative?
Good shape in that. And I'll tell you, I took this Regeneron. It's phenomenal.
Have you had a test since your diagnosis a week ago?
Well, what we're doing is probably the test will be tomorrow, the actual test, because there's no reason to test all the time.
Yeah, he did not answer whether or not he has or hasn't tested negative. I mean, it's a pretty simple answer to that question, right? If you are negative, just say you tested negative. I mean, it's not that complicated, but of course, there's something else going on there that he doesn't want to talk about. And things have gotten so bad at the White House and with the Trump administration that even Mitch McConnell ain't going there.
I haven't actually been to the White House since August the 6th. because my impression was their approach to how to handle this was different from mine. If any of you have been around me since May the 1st, I've said, wear your mask and practice social distancing. It's the only way that we know of to prevent the spread.
The only way we know of to prevent the spread. It's kind of crazy that even Mitch McConnell is buying into wearing a mask, and Trump is making fun of Biden for wearing a big old mask. And so Biden's team says they want to confirm Trump is negative before the next debate. And realistically, how is that going to happen, right? Like, is Biden's team going to test him? If you're Trump, why would you allow that to happen? Why would you go through that? And at this point, would anyone trust Trump if he actually said he tested negative? At one point, I don't know if it happened, but he was going to go through a medical exam on Fox News, like live national television. 2020 is just weird. So there's still a lot in the air here, right? There's still a lot that we don't know whether or not this is going to happen. My vote is that it probably will happen. We'll probably see another debate before the election. But I would also not be surprised at all if we don't. So another story about good old Trump. I feel like this is kind of one of the not fun things about doing this sometimes, is because you feel like you're just kind of constantly talking about Trump. Trump this, Trump that, what's Trump's doing, what he's saying. He really kind of dominates everything with the media, and honestly, I kind of feel like I get tired of talking about him, but that's what's going on. And so, to make a bad week worse, after Trump's coronavirus diagnosis and his stay in the hospital, he gets out and makes another mistake. Now, I don't know about you, but the coronavirus has sucked. Right? The coronavirus has not been fun for really any of us, right? Unemployment is at a record high. Businesses across the country are shutting down. We've lost thousands and thousands of businesses. And that is, not to even, also we've lost over 210,000 Americans. Last time I saw it, I think it was like 215,000 dead. More than we lost in Vietnam, that we've lost the coronavirus. And after all this devastation, all this pain that the American people are feeling, Trump wants to let you know that if you are hurting financially, if you're worried about where the rent's going to come from, where your mortgage payment's going to come from, if you're having trouble putting food on the table, Trump wants you to know that screw you until after the election. He says any stimulus negotiation is off until, I quote, after I get elected. Yeah, so what he's basically saying there is that, if you have financial insecurity, if you're being hurt by the coronavirus, that's not important to him right now. What's important is him getting reelected. So he'll kind of dangle that carrot there and see if that'll get you out to the polls. Now, this change, of course, comes, since then, he has, for his credit, maybe changed his tune a little bit and said that, okay, maybe I will sign some kind of stimulus package after the one number that he really cares about took a hit.
Markets have done an immediate about-face in the last 10 minutes after President Trump said no more stimulus negotiations. He has rejected what the Democrats are offering now in a single tweet.
Yep, he is... Yeah, he just basically took to Twitter and said, yep, tough shit. No stimulus bill for you. And the funny thing about this, if you really kind of want to dive in the weeds about here, the funny thing is that Democrats were actually on the ropes. So they have put out a bill in May, and it was a $3 trillion bill. That's kind of where they set their negotiating point out. Republicans in July, I believe, came in with a $500 billion bill, and so there's a lot of room there, right? But as we're getting close to the election, and as politicians are stuck in Washington kind of a lot, I mean, you got to picture this is Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin in a room, so everyone else is kind of twiddling their thumbs, ready to get back on the campaign trail and ready to, show some results for their for their voters, right? And so moderate Democrats were actually starting to fight against Nancy Pelosi. They were actually starting to say, let's just get something done so we can get out of here. And so Nancy Pelosi's support was actually kind of failing. Now, after this treat from Trump, they can just say, well, the president shut this down, not us. I mean, it takes the heat off of them completely. And so the truth is, this makes absolutely no sense politically. No sense. I mean, if you're a Democrat, okay, now I don't have to worry about, trying to get this bill through before you get back to the campaign trail. If you're a Republican, which that is obviously Trump's party, the main person at the top of the ticket just said, no stimulus bill, no help for the millions on unemployment, including the millions on unemployment in states that Trump needs to win. Nothing's going to get people out to vote there by saying, okay, the president of the United States basically says, screw you, we're not giving you any help during this pandemic. And so it just makes no sense politically. But it makes all sense in the world when you consider who Trump is. He's a child. And it's all about him showing he's the one with the power. Right? If you've ever, if you have kids, or if you've ever watched kids and you've seen, kids, they just throw a temper tantrum sometimes, right? They just start acting crazy. They get very upset. And sometimes they'll just say, I'm going to take my stuff and go home, right? They're just like, there's no pleasing them, and they want to show who has authority here. And that's essentially what Trump did. And if you disagree with that, then why did he announce this right after he got out of the hospital? Right? He gets out of the hospital, not looking so good politically, and then all of a sudden just kills this. I mean, makes no sense unless you know who Trump is. And so now he's realized he's messed up, and Republicans are pissed. Right? I mean, Republicans, they're all looking around like, why would he actually do this? And so Trump, for his part, has come out and said he will sign another stimulus check, but not the full thing. First, because, he said he'll sign another $1,200 direct payment to folks so he can make sure he can write his name on it. And now there's reports out there that he wants more than what the Democrats were offering. Last check is that he wanted to offer up to $1.8 billion in his version of a stimulus bill. But the thing is, now the political will to do that may be over, right? He's taking the heat off Democrats. And so we'll see. I'm hoping the deal can get done, because this is obviously something that people really need. This is definitely hurting a lot of folks. The coronavirus and like how much it's hurting them financially. The one thing that no one's actually talking about here is the liability protection for businesses. So that was what Republicans have been fighting for this whole time. I know it's been very frustrating for everyone, kind of just waiting on Congress to figure it out. And it kind of seems like it's just normal political infighting. It seems like, okay, this is just constant. This is Washington politics. This is how it's done. Like, they don't do anything. They get nothing done. And that's probably very frustrating to you out there who is waiting to, see what's going to happen here, how you're going to pay your bills, all that kind of stuff. But one of the big things to remember is that the Republicans, for the longest time, have demanded liability protection for businesses. And I've talked about that before, but essentially what that means is that if you get sick with the coronavirus, right? If you come down sick with the coronavirus and, hey, I got it from work. I got it from the place I work at. My employer didn't take the right protections. There's been cases of where employers have forced employees to work even though they have COVID symptoms. And what the Republicans want to do is make it impossible for you to sue those businesses, no matter what they've done. And to me, that's a non-starter, right? And I think to Nancy Pelosi, that's a non-starter. And that's what Republicans have been fighting for this whole time. So I hope a deal gets done, but not at that cost. Take a little drink break here. Yeah, drinking some red wine tonight. It is way after 5 o'clock, so I feel good about doing so. So, sometimes it feels weird talking about things, right? And this story is definitely something that seems a little strange. You know, irony, it's a very funny thing. Very funny thing. So Donald Trump, before the debates, accused Joe Biden of being on drugs for no reason, right? I mean, he accused Joe Biden of being on some kind of drugs and was so adamant about this that he demanded that Joe Biden take a drug test before the first presidential debate. And now, it seems like Trump is the one who is under the influence of something. Now, in case you missed it, the President of the United States announced that he has tested positive with COVID-19. And shortly after, he was rushed to the hospital when reportedly he was short of breath, short of oxygen, not once but twice, right? And so had to rush him to the emergency room and take care of him in Walter Reed Medical Center. And so, of course, with the president being sick, they gave him some of them good drugs. Now, according to what we've heard out there, is that he was given 3 main drug treatments: dexamethasone, remdesivir, and Regeneron. I am very proud of myself for being able to just name all those without mispronouncing them. So remdesivir is a treatment that has been talked about a lot, right? When Trump is going on and on about hydroxychloroquine, which is funny, he hasn't mentioned that in a while, he viewed this as a miracle drug, a game-changing treatment in the fight against the coronavirus, when really it was remdesivir that was making a huge impact on coronavirus survival rates. Right, remdesivir was really helping a lot of people to survive their virus, and is one of the big reasons why the death rate from COVID-19 has gone down by quite a bit. So there was another thing he got, which is this Regeneron, which is a I'm gonna mess this one up. Monoclonal antibody therapy. I am not a doctor. And the interesting thing about this one is it's made from stem cells that they're using stem cells to try to create this coronavirus treatment. And of course, stem cells have come from abortions, which, a little irony there. Trump is trying to get rid of Roe versus Wade, trying to stop abortions, and again, he's taking a drug that was made from stem cells. So, yeah, a little bit of hypocrisy there. And the last one we'll talk about is dexamethasone. I messed it up. Yeah, that's a big one there. Now, the side effects of this drug are things that you might have noticed with Trump, right? There is anxiety, cognitive impairment, and altered mood. Now, I don't know if you've seen President Trump on video lately, but does this look a little weird to you?
And you're going to beat it. I didn't feel so good. And 2 days ago, I could have left 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I felt great, like better than I have in a long time. I said just recently, better than 20 years ago. So, to my favorite people in the world, the seniors. I'm a senior. I know you don't know that. Nobody knows that. Maybe you don't have to tell them, but I'm a senior. Hi, perhaps you recognize me. It's your favorite president. I want everybody to be given the same treatment as your president, because I feel great. I feel like perfect. So I think this was a blessing from God that I caught it.
You know, I highly doubt the people working at the White House, the staffers, there's 90 full-time people working at the White House. I doubt they feel that Trump being infected with the coronavirus and coming back to the White House, not wearing a mask, and then exposing all of them to COVID-19 is a blessing from God. Now, watching that, it's hard to tell if that is drug crazy or just regular Trump crazy. But there is also, of course, with the president, some tweets to look at. So, at a very early time of 5:57 in the morning, Trump goes all rage tweety and just starts tweeting a bunch of random things in all caps. 401k vote, law and order vote, fight the corrupt fake news media vote, save our Second Amendment vote, massive regulation cuts vote, and it just keeps going on and on like that. All in all caps. Now, usually Trump, he misspells a lot of stuff on Twitter. The all caps thing is something new, even for him. And so he's definitely acting a little off, right? He's always a little weird, but this is kind of taking the cake here, right? And who knows if he's really off his rocker, but isn't that just scary that we have to ask that question, right? The fact that we have to ask, is the president being infected or affected by all these drugs he's on, and he's still being the president? I just hope someone there is hiding the nuclear codes, because this could get really, really scary really fast. Yep. So, anyone that knows me knows I'm a pretty nice guy. At least I think, you know. I try to be nice. Try to, treat others how I'd like to be treated. The golden rule. And so when people are talking about Trump dying from COVID, part of me seemed like that's a little bit much. I mean, I get it, right? He has his, downplaying the virus, the way he's acted, the way he's led the country during this time, has led to thousands of people dying. I mean, there are so many people who died because they said, oh, well, Trump's not wearing a mask, right? Trump says it's just like the flu. And there's people who lost their lives because he didn't take this shit seriously. So even when people were like, Trump's sick and talking about him dying, though, it just makes me feel weird saying that, right? I hope he doesn't die, right? That just seems like a bit of a stretch for me. But that being said, Stephen Miller getting the coronavirus is hilarious, right? Stephen Miller is one of the leading trolls in America. He is the literal worst.
Newly uncovered emails showing how White House senior advisor Stephen Miller pushed the website Breitbart to cover white nationalist content between the years 2015 and 2016. More than 80% of the 900 emails obtained that Miller sent related to race or immigration. Hate Watch characterized Miller as being obsessed with, quote, white genocide.
But listen, you can have 24/7.
I have no idea why you're attacking me.
Well, I'll explain to you.
My point is,
I'll tell you why I'm attacking you.
Steve Bannon,
Jake, you can have a 24/7.
Help push the president's travel ban. He helped pull out.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's one of the fake news items in the book.
Stephen,
I would happen to know better than you would, Jake, about how the travel ban was written.
Yes, he would definitely know better than anyone how the travel ban was written. See, the thing about Trump, it's kind of interesting that before he was elected, most folks were like, he's a pretty reasonable kind of guy. I mean, not the smartest dude out there, but not this, hateful kind of person that he's been in the White House. And it seems like a lot of that hate is coming from this troll right here. He's the supposed architect behind the Muslim ban, which, again, Trump campaigned on, saying, hey, we're going to stop Muslims coming to this country. And before then, everyone thought that would never happen until he not only did it once, but before the pandemic, he actually expanded that ban to include more countries. He also came up with the family separation policy, which it's more recently come out that the Homeland Security was told, yes, separate them from their kids, like make sure that happens. And the whole goal here is to make anyone thinking they're, coming to the United States, come for a safe haven, come for a better life, get the American dream, would instead be stopped by fear that their children were going to be taken from them and put in cages and potentially never see them again. Stephen Miller came up with that policy. Stephen Miller came up with that plan. And so I will And so I would never knowingly wish sickness on anyone. COVID-19 is a horrible disease. It's a horrible pandemic that is spreading across our entire world. We've lost 250,000 in the United States. I believe over 1 million globally. But if you spend your entire life as a white nationalist troll who's led to the pain and suffering of countless people, you get what's coming to you. Yep. Ooh, I think this is my last story here. Sip some more of this good wine stuff. This good. I feel like in some ways it's been kind of a dark show, but there's a lot of, so fortunately, lots of bad things happen in the country nowadays. I do hope, I did a video about like, are we going back to normal? Are we eventually going to move past all this chaos? And I personally think we won't, but if there's ever been one thing I hope I'm wrong about, it's that one right there. And speaking of dark days in the United States, dark days for this country, let me ask you a question. What is the biggest threat to America? What is the biggest threat to the United States? What is the biggest threat to our freedom? Now, for a long time, and for most of my life, it was terrorists. I remember 9/11 very vividly. I remember coming home. I remember seeing the planes hit the World Trade Center. And even though that was a young age for me, I remember thinking the world has changed. And for the next several decades, we were fighting terrorists abroad. We were fighting Al-Qaeda. We were fighting ISIS. We were fighting terrorists all around the world. When it turns out, maybe, just maybe, we should have been more worried about the terrorists here in the United States.
There are mounting questions now over an alleged plot to overthrow Michigan state government and kidnap the governor. 6 men connected with a right-wing group are charged with attempting to carry out an elaborate plan to kidnap Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer for what they called treason.
Yes, treason. And it's funny that in recent days, the lawyer for these guys has come out and been like, they were just joking around. They weren't. These are just a couple of morons, right? This isn't a plot. These are just a couple of idiots who got caught up in doing dumb things. Now, keep in mind, these guys met in a room under a trapdoor, apparently, in a house. They trained all summer. They had planned to recruit up to 200 men to storm the capital of Michigan. And they actually watched the governor's home. They staked out her home. And so these guys were serious. And apparently they were white militia members, as they typically are, right? And it's just, when really we should be calling them by another name. We should be calling them domestic terrorists, because that's what they really are. And a lot of these domestic terrorists think they're being patriotic. They talk about loving the Constitution, loving the Second Amendment. Well, they planned an actual rebellion against the country they claim to love, right? I always kind of think about, the world's changed a lot from the 1700s and 1776, the Declaration of Independence, the Battle for Independence, the American Revolution. And so sometimes I think it's kind of hilarious that these guys who claim to be patriots, they're fighting for America, they would have been the redcoats, man. I mean, they would not have been on American side. They would have said, when all the looting and rioting was happening, they would have complained about all the tea that got dumped into the harbor, right? So yeah, it's funny to me that these guys think they're being patriotic when they are literally trying to overthrow a democratically elected governor because they just don't like what she says. They don't like what she's doing, right? To protect them from the virus. I mean, This is kind of like, this is also, masculinity or toxic masculinity at its finest and most dangerous. But really, it's not even, what they did scares me. I don't want to say that. What they did definitely scares me. But what scares me more is what officials are saying about it.
You can see William Null on stage alongside Barry County Sheriff Dar Leaf, a guest speaker at the event. We spoke with Sheriff Leaf Thursday night.
Well, I haven't read everything up on it. I've got other duties to do. It wasn't our investigation. So I was shocked. I did not see this coming with those guys, but still, we can't convict them in the news media here. They do have a right to a fair trial.
Leaf says he doesn't know of Null's alleged involvement in the plot and doesn't have any regrets about sharing a stage with him.
Do you have any regrets from being on stage, sharing a stage with a guy who's now being charged in a plot to kidnap the governor?
Well, it's just a charge, and they say a plot to kidnap. And you got to remember that, are they trying to kidnap? Because a lot of people are angry with the governor, and they want her arrested. So are they trying to arrest, or was it a kidnap attempt?
I mean, I just don't know where to go from there, right? Yes, oh yeah, they've been charged. They haven't been convicted yet, so presume they're innocent. What do I feel like if I got pulled over in that guy's county, that they wouldn't exactly presumed that I am innocent? I mean, seriously? Seriously? This is who is in charge of protecting the people, right? This is the sheriff. This isn't just some dumb cop, and he's not necessarily defending these guys, but he's not criticizing them either. He's not. I mean, they're literally planning to kidnap the governor, and he's justifying it there. He is saying, well, a lot of people are angry at the governor, and so what are you saying that a mob should show up at her house where she has 2 teenage daughters, and they should arrest her, just take her away? And Governor Whitmire herself said exactly what probably would have happened to her.
It wasn't simply to kidnap, it was to put me on a trial of some sort and then possibly execute me. That's the kind of thing that you would expect to hear from a group like ISIS.
Expect to hear from a group like ISIS. That's where we are in 2020. And that's where we are for the foreseeable future. Because the FBI and many other organizations that, kind of look out for America, right? They're trying to see what is our biggest threat. Names these domestic terrorists as a thing we need to worry about for, as long as, this is a thing we need to worry about for the future, foreseeable future. And if you think that, okay, this is an isolated incident, this is probably not something that's going to happen again, we'll take a look at what happened in my home state of Virginia. There was a plot there to kidnap the governor of Virginia. Now, this was earlier this year. A lot of people are angry about the governor of Virginia for what's happened during the lockdown orders, and also what's been going on with gun legislation there. And so a militia wanted to take it in their hands to not only kidnap the governors of Michigan, but also Virginia. This is a sign that this is something that is not going away. No matter if Trump wins, this is probably going to get worse. If Biden wins, this is probably also going to get worse. I mean, this is the biggest threat to the United States. And if you are American, if you are a patriot, you don't want armed militias running around and kidnapping democratically elected governors, right? We're supposed to live in a nation of laws. We're supposed to live in a nation of, we Americans, they have, they're very fierce about their politics. They're very fierce about what they believe in. And we have spirited debates, but you kind of lose that when you start talking about kidnapping people, holding a trial, and potentially executing them. It's not a democracy. I don't even know if you can consider that a dictatorship. That, my friends, is something else. Well, yeah, this has been fun. I haven't done one of these in a while, you know. Life's been busy. Life's been crazy. Hopefully I can upload more stuff in the future, you know, stay on it, but, you know, I got a lot going on. But hopefully after next week, my crazy schedule will allow me to do more Citizen Pete stuff, because I love talking politics, man. And it's nice to have YouTube, or nice to have like a format or outlet for me to kind of talk politics and chat with all y'all. I'm hoping to eventually add some interview stuff here, so it won't just be me ranting the whole time, but maybe get some other folks here and they can rant with me as well. But you know, thanks so much to subscribing for the channel. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I will catch you guys next time.